atheists make a lot of accusations, and usually there is no merit to them. They just like to make accusations, and if you take the time to carefully show why an accusation they make is false, and the time you've done so, they just make 3 more accusations. They're really not interested in the truth. They're interested in their own desires and rebelling against God, and so constantly breathing out accusations that really have no merit once you examine them closely, but just sound superficially plausible. That's basically their act. But they made one recently. I thought, well, maybe there is some value to this, not in the way they intend it, of course, but overall. And it's important that we listen to people, maybe not, once they've utterly established that they're not interested in truth. You don't need to listen to them that much, but still, it is the best habit and the best practice to listen to what the other side is saying. You learn a lot that way, sometimes about your own side. This may be the case here. But what they say is, most people adopt the religion that they were born into. Their parents were Christians, and that's why they're Christians. Not because it's true, you were just born into it. People were born into an Islamic household, they're Islamic. There's also the minor detail that in most nations, and Muslim majority nations, if you are a Muslim and you convert to another religion, your parents are supposed to disown you, possibly even kill you. So that might deter some of it, but the point is they're inviting people to throw off their shackles and not believe in any of these gods, because the God you think you believe in, you just believe in it because you were born into a household that believes in it. And that once you throw off the shackles of having to listen to anybody, like your parents, you can be as free as they are, which, by the way, is not free at all. It is a slave to sin and delusion. But I thought about their claim, and the implication was you're just in that religion because your parents were. Well, okay, let's think about it. 2,000 years ago, how many Christians were there in the world? I mean, this was, I guess Jesus was preaching, but he hadn't been crucified yet. No, excuse me, it was before Jesus' public ministry. So, zero Christians in the world 2,000 years ago. And if there were, certainly there were none 50 years before that. The 0% Christian population. So their charge surely doesn't fit with history, because Christianity, something happened to where they say, oh, you're the religion that you were born into. Your parents are that religion, so you're that religion. That was not the case. In the latter half of the 1st century and the 2nd century and the beginning of the 3rd century, something changed. Something happened different, that people gave up the religion of their parents. They gave up the religion that they were born into, and they became Christians. So much so that even the mighty Roman Empire was forced to bend the knee, and by 380 A.D., announced Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire. Now, was some of that a bunch of politicians just trying to jump in front of the bandwagon and take credit and to try to find a way to manipulate things to their advantage? Yes, and I think they did it. And so I think we should grow increasingly suspicious of the official church's actions after that time. But guess what, folks? That wasn't even the only church. There was also a church in Parthia, which is now Iran. The gospel was not contained within the borders of the Roman Empire. It was not dependent upon the Roman Empire for its existence. There was a church of the East as well. And it still has a couple of successor denominations today. It had a split later on, just like the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox. There was a split. There was a split in the church in the East as well. But they're still around today. And even in parts of Europe that the Roman Empire was not in charge of. There was a couple of churches there that were beyond the borders, and one of them, I think the Moravian Church, is a sort of a successor of that group of Christians through time that set up apart from the Roman Empire. So, yes, Christianity got a boost once it was declared the official state religion, but until it was declared the official state religion, the state was persecuting Christians. The state crucified people for being Christians. The state burned people alive for being Christians. The state threw people to the lions for being Christians. The state persecuted Christianity and fought it tooth and nail all the way until the time the politicians of the state tried to jump in front of the bandwagon and say, hey, we were with you the whole time. We're going to make you the official religion of our nation. You know, I find that there is a class of politician that feigns obeisance to Christ, but really resents Christ, because Christ made them all look bad. He showed people what a leader is really supposed to be: a true servant, selfless, giving, honest, not acquiring great riches for themselves. It's everything. He's everything they're not. And they want your allegiance instead of him. So it's a tough sell, except they are willing to flatter you. And they're willing to feign obeisance to him. And I don't say they're all in that category, by the way. I just say there's a class of them like that. So how do the atheists, if the atheists say, well, see, you're just a Christian because your parents were a Christian, how do they explain the rise of Christianity? Now you may say, well, Mark, didn't Islam rise just as fast in that part of the world? Yes, it did, by the sword. It did by the sword, because Islam was an absolute unity of church and state from the start. Islam justified, rationalized conquest and looting in the name of God. You were doing it in the name of God now, so it's an act of holiness. You're doing it against the unbelievers, so it's okay. And they conquered places, and they said, you guys can basically pay extra taxes and stay what you are, or you can convert to Islam and join us looters. And of course, everybody whose faith was weak joined the looters. And they also had a rule that said, if your children convert from Islam, you're supposed to kill them, or we kill them. And that is in place in many Muslim areas. That's still the rule today. So, yeah, the reason they are Muslims is because their parents were Muslims, and because Islam demands they die if they convert. That's Islam. But how do you explain Christianity other than people reacting to God intervening in human history? And they saw it with their own eyes, and they believed the witnesses who saw it with their own eyes, and the hand of God was really in it. Your accusation here doesn't fit the history. The history is the West became Christianized, and part of the East became Christianized until Islam came along and used force to stamp it out. So, as usual, the accusations of the atheists have no merit, except I do think it is okay to question the form that the Christianity your family is practicing has taken. In other words, you're Christian because Christianity is true, not just because you were born into that household. But you can still examine that form of Christianity and say, is it in accordance with the Scripture, which is supposed to be the guidebook? I guess, the Roman Catholics would say it's the church, and so therefore it must always be in line with the church because they're their own authority. It seems a bit circular to me. And also I would say, with due respect, because to me, if the Catholic Church is another of God's churches, then I welcome my brothers and sisters. It's the Catholics that say we're the only one and the rest of you are losers and phonies that kind of get to me. Because honestly, if it wasn't for the reformers, I think a lot of the guys saying that about Protestants would be still running Inquisition dungeons funded by the selling of indulgences. And so they owe the Reformation a lot. And instead of accepting that and working together all under Christ, they're trying to do something else. They're trying to elevate their organization. So I think it's perfectly valid, because I don't think the Roman Catholic Church is the only religious institution that can err. The Southern Baptist Church can err. The Lutheran Church can err. All of them can err. And it is, if there's any value in what the atheists say in this case, it is this: examine the Christianity that your family practices and test it to see if it's the way it should be. Yes, Christianity is the way it should be, but is what you're practicing connected to historic Christianity? Does it have the same priorities as the apostles had in their teaching that's in the Bible? Yes, begin that journey. They want you to begin a journey to throw off all gods and become the same kind of obnoxious jerks that they are. I want you to do it so that you can know the truth better and pursue it because at the end, that's where he is. Thank you so much for listening, and may God bless you.